Ciao, creative friends. My name is Joey Balistreri. Welcome to my work table. Today I'm going to make a set of 2 necklaces, and I am working from a little sketch in my sketchbook. So one of the necklaces is going to be mostly gemstones. I have a plan for stringing my gemstones, and I'll show you. I got some really beautiful ones for this project. And the second necklace is going to be chain, and I'm going to do a reverse where my gemstone necklace will have a little piece of this chain here, and I will create a little movable section of dangles, not super heavy, just a little break in the stringing of the gemstones and maybe a little section of the chain here. And on this one I will reverse it. It will be a chain necklace, and I'm going to do a little section of stones here. And I got some fabulous supplies for this project, and I'll show you what those are. And I did want my gemstone necklace to be the shorter necklace of the set, but I'm going to reverse that because when I did my shopping for my supplies, I found this stunning gold filled chain, and I just love it. It's so dainty and so classic, but it was a little bit expensive, so I only got 2 feet of this. So what's going to happen is my gemstone necklace is going to be the longer of the 2 necklaces in the set. And for my gemstone, I found these beautiful AA grade pink opals, and I got 2 strands of them. They are just so beautiful. And these supplies here came from Lima Beads. I just love that website. And then I have these beautiful, this is a lavender quartz, and this is an Indian glass in the pink opal color. And each one of the beads is a little bit different. So I selected 3, which is going to be the break in my gold chain. So these 3 are pretty close to the same, and I'm just going to make this little simple looped component, and that's going to be that little section on my chain. And then I think for my dangling section, I'm going to mix in this gorgeous check glass little bead. It's a silk Picasso wash, and it's called mint green, but it's just so organic and so fresh, and I just love the color variations in it. And I love these together, if you can see how beautiful they are. And sort of what sparked this design is that a big trend in jewelry for 2024 is, well, pastels are having a moment, but really bold jewelry. And I don't really like super bold jewelry, but you can also create that look with layering your necklaces. And I do love to layer my necklaces, and I also love having the option of wearing them together or separately. So this is the project, and let me set my sketchbook aside. And I am going to be using for my stringing material this Metallics Soft Flex. It's a fine stringing material. It's a 21 strand. I wish that I had this in gold. I do not. So I'm using this copper color, but I've already cut my length, and it actually looks really good. I mean, it's a little bit dark, but mostly you won't see too much of it. And so what I did here is I cut 2 lengths, because as you saw from my sketch, my strung necklace is going to be asymmetrical. So this shorter length, I've already put a number 2 crimp tube with my magical crimping plier and made that little loop on one side. So you can see the copper is a little bit dark for my gold metals that I'm using, but I'm okay with it. You know, it's what I had in my stash. The copper is really one of my favorites. So this strung part will be asymmetrical, and I have about 20 inches on this side, and I think about 15 inches. Yeah, about 15 inches for my shorter side. And so what I'm going to do is go ahead and crimp my ends here so that I know where my clasp is going to be, because once I get these on, and I have a couple of really beautiful clasps for my gemstone part of this set, I'm going to be using this brass. It's a brass base 14 karat gold plated toggle set, And then I have a little gold filled lobster clasp that I'm going to be using on the chain part. So I'm going to show you a little trick that I do. These are number 2 crimp tubes from Softflex company, and I'm going to make a little loop. I want to match this loop in size. And then one of the things that gives a really nice crimp is when there is no empty space inside this tube. So I am going to take a small piece of this same wire that I'm using, just cut it, and this is going to be the dummy wire. So I'm just going to put that in, and all that does is take up space inside that tube so that I get a really good crimp. It's a little bit to hold on to, but I'm just going to pull that down and come in with my magical crimping pliers. Let me check my loop. Pretty good, maybe a bit smaller. So my dummy wire is in there, and I'm going to fit this in the well, get it nice and centered. Oh, I just messed up my loop. Get my loop and pull that dummy wire down. I can already tell that it's taking up space inside the tube. And then I'm just going to close the tool. And I should have just pinched those 4 corners and made a little ravioli. And now I'll turn it sideways in the tool and close it again, and then just go around and around until I don't feel any resistance. So that little extra wire inside the crimp tube just takes up any hollow space, and it gives you a really beautiful, perfect little bead when you're all done crimping. So you can see it is perfect. And now I can trim away. I'll trim away the dummy wire to start with. I don't know if 2 strands of this will go through my gemstone beads, so I will start stringing and see. I'm also going to be using some of these 15-0 seed beads in my stringing. So let me just put a few out here on my mat. They're a lot easier to pick up from the mat than they are like from a little dish. And I need to cut open. I actually have 2 strands of this beautiful AA pink opal, AA grade. Oh, and by the way, if you get gemstone beads on this type of, they're always on this pretty, I don't know if it's silk or polyester, but it's really beautiful. And I save these little threads because I do silk ribbon embroidery, and they're also great to gather them up and make really petite little tassels. You get these beautiful little threads when you have gemstone beads. So I have a little plastic bag where I save these little threads. They're really useful for other projects. And I'm going to just take a few off this strand and get my stringing started. Let's see. I think that's going to be too much gold for me to do the whole length that way. So maybe I'll try every 3rd bead. Oh, I like that a lot better. So I think that's what I'm going to do for the whole length of this necklace, is do 3 of the gemstones and then 1 of these little galvanized seed beads. I wanted to bring in the gold, but I really want this necklace to be about the gemstones. So I'm going to do my entire length this way, and I also have to do this side the same way, and then the clasp will go here, and then on these two ends, when I'm finished stringing, I'm going to take a small little length of this gold chain and crimp it right onto this, and that will be the place where I make the little dangles with my other beads. So let me get all this stringing done, and I will be right back. I'll just pause. It'll just be a second for you, and we'll do the next step together. I am just checking in because I have finished stringing my first strand of the pink opals. Look how gorgeous this is, and I love that tiny little dot of gold after every 3 beads. It's just beautiful. And then I have also taken borrowed a few little links of my gold filled chain, and that's going to get attached, I think, right to this wire, but I wanted a tiny bit more length because I want this chain to sit off to one side. I want this to be asymmetrical. So I am ready to cut my second strand of material here and add just a couple more sections of the opal before I add my chain. So I just thought I would check in and let you see the progress in case you're making along with me or doing a similar project, get an idea of what the stringing looks like. You know, sometimes to see that, it helps you make your own design decisions. So I'm just going to continue with that same little stringing pattern that I created. 3 opals and a 15-0 galvanized seed bead, and 3 opals, and I'm just going to continue like that. And let me just pull out of the camera really quickly. I'm going to hold my thumb there. I think I want to do maybe one more section here, and then I'm going to add it right onto my chain. And I think actually, let's see, did I get 3? No, I need one more. I think actually I'm going to not crimp this right onto the chain. I think I'm going to crimp it and use a really small gold-filled jump ring to add it onto my chain, just because I haven't really decided on my little dangles that are going to be grouped on this little section of chain, and I like the option of it changing it out since I'm using such high quality materials for this piece. So here I'm going to come with another one of my number 2 crimp tubes. These ones from Softflex Company are also gold filled, and make another loop just like we did on the other end. And I want this loop to be really small. And I also do not want to allow my strung part here to be rigid. So I'm going to like make a nice little coil, move some of my other little gemstones. Make another little coil here. I don't want it to be rigid. This Softflex Metallics is so malleable and just so fluid, and I love that. And I want, because I want to like really, I want these gemstones to just be soft and beautiful. So I'm just checking to make sure there's no gaps, and that other little piece of wire that I cut from the other end is going to serve as my dummy wire. So I'm just going to put that right through the tube and bring in my magical crimping plier. Be really careful if you're using the magical crimping plier with really tiny seed beads like I am, that you do not crush your last seed bead in the jaw of the plier. It can happen. Close the plier. I've pinched the 4 corners, and then I'm just going to go in the opposite direction and just keep going all around until I don't feel the tool is doing anything anymore. And when you open and close each time on a pattern like this, just be careful you're not getting that last little glass seed bead in the jaw of the plier. And I have this perfect little tube, perfect little bead that used to be a tube, and I'm going to trim away. Save those little small wires in case I will need a dummy wire on the other end. And unfortunately on this, like it doesn't look bad, but I normally really like to trim away down here, like away from where my section is going to be, but these beads are so small, it's just not possible, but it looks okay. And I love that this little section of my necklace is so fluid, not rigid at all, really, really gorgeous. And so now I'm going to come in with that other piece of wire and do the exact same thing, and then I'll put my clasp on, and this will get attached here with a jump ring, and then I can decide what I want to do as far as the little dangles, how many I want to do, and what sorry, I realized I'm out of the camera, but some of these opals even have a little bit of a lavender palette to them, and I think I'm really going to like adding in these pastels, but this is just so beautiful, and I will come back and we'll do the next step together. So as you can see, I have quite a bit done since I took my pause, because I have a neighbor that was removing a tree, and their yard backs up to mine, and it was just much too noisy to continue filming, but I really wanted to keep working. So I made the repetitive parts here, so we're ready to connect. All of these little components are done, and I sort of laid them out the way that I want to connect them. I saved one to do with you. I'm going to need 3 of these little Indian opal glass components, and that's going to go as a little section on this chain, and my plan is to connect those with jump rings as a little station on this chain, and then I have done 2 of these for each side of each jump ring, so they're just the beads that are appearing in my other piece. So as I said at the beginning, these can be worn together. The elements in both necklaces are the same, or they can be separated. Layering necklaces is just a really big thing again, and for me it's timeless, and for me these colors are timeless. Trends are really fun and I love to watch them, but at the end of the day I like to make what I love, and then I'll have it for a long time. So what I did is I added my little toggle clasp to the 2 ends, and if one of these is longer and one is shorter, and I've gone ahead and borrowed 7 links from my other necklace. This chain is so pretty and just classic, and I have a gold filled jump ring here, and I connected it to one end, and then what I decided to do is one little dangle, and I did these kind of at random, like each of these is slightly different. And so what I'm planning to do is attach one little dangle to each link right here for this little section of the gemstone necklace. And I've left everything out here in case I want them more full, in case I want to make additional dangles to add in. So I did save this last one to do with you. Now I will tell you that all of these little dangles that have the little ball at the end, I am using these beautiful ball head pins, and they are the Potomac Beads ball head pins from Athena Cast. It's a 2-inch, and they have a premium 29 karat gold plating, and they are just lovely. I think these are a 22 gauge wire because they have fit through all these tiny little gemstone beads with no problem. But I have gone to my 20 gauge wire that has the anti-tarnish coating on it for these few components, and I am using my 2 1/4 inch one-step looper for this. So I will go really slowly, fast forward through this if you've seen this a million times. But when I have a lot of components to make, this really saves me from an arthritis flare-up. So I say that all the time. But I know some people really hate this tool and they just want to do simple loops with their pliers, and that is totally okay. If that's the way you get them in there, you know, then do that. But if you're new and you are interested in this, this tool, it has a hole through the back, and that will help you to line up the wire under the mandrel. But if there's no bead on here, it also makes a blunt cut right there. And if there's no bead, that is a waste of wire. So for my first loop, I just put the wire, I slightly close the tool so that I can hold on to the wire. And my end of my wire is just ever so slightly past the back jaw of the plier. And what this does is makes a nice clean blunt cut, so you can skip that step with your cutters, and it makes the cut, wraps the wire around the mandrel here, creating the loop. So I'll just do that, and I tend to go kind of slowly. And so that loop is made. Look at that teeny little, almost no waste, but it gives you a perfect end cut on your wire. And then while it's still in the tool, I just pull my wire down, and that gives me a chance to straighten anything that needs to be straightened. And I have lined up my loop so that it is perfectly centered on the wire. So when I take it away, I have a perfect, simple loop. And especially for me, I'm inconsistent with my simple loops when I'm doing it with pliers, and you know, it's just the nature of the human hand and human eye, but this tool gets them perfect every time. So I really like that when I'm doing a piece like this. And so this component just consisted of one of these little 3mm gold filled spacer beads, and then I did one of those little Indian glass in the pink opal color, and then another 3mm bead. And these glass beads were very high quality. They were a little bit expensive. I can't remember the website. I want to say they were from DD Beads, maybe. I've had them in my stash for a really long time. And the holes are a little bit strange, a little bit inconsistent. But I just think they're beautiful, and I absolutely love the colors with my project here, so I'm okay with that. So for me, I do my loops constantly alternating, so I have turned this so that this loop is going down. The tool always wraps the wire upward, and now this time I will put the wire through that back hole, and I will put my bead right up to this jaw. Now if this were a crystal bead and maybe the hole was smaller, I would back this off 1 millimeter, but on this particular component, because there's this huge hole and this is a metal bead, I can snuggle that bead right up next to the jaw of the plier and then just slowly close it. And I don't close it all the way. I close it just about halfway so that I can get all my beads out of the jaw of the plier. And then before I close it completely, I just pull my component down away from the jaw, and then I can close it. And then while it's still in the tool, like this one is pretty good, but if there's anything misaligned, you can line up your loops with a pair of pliers. And when you take it away, you know, sometimes especially on the 2 1/4 inch, I do have to close my loops, but mostly with simple loops, you're going to be you're going to be opening and closing them anyway. So, you know, and I like to open and close my pliers on the loop a little bit just to work harden it too, just, you know, without hammering it on a bench block. So that is my third little section. And by the way, for all of these little components, I used my 1.5 millimeter one-step looper. And the reason is the little bit larger loop with the 2 1/4 just makes a chain more fluid. Like if you're doing links, it makes it move a little bit better when everything is connected. And then for dangles that are just going to go into this tiny little link on the chain, you know, I want my loop to be unobtrusive and just serve a purpose. So the 1.5 millimeter worked great for that. And also, by the way, this little pile of wire here is the scraps of my ball head pins, because these components were quite short for a 2-inch head pin, and this is really high quality wire. So I have saved all of these and I will put them back in the bag. And I even just did a little test. I put a simple loop in one end to see how much space I had, and I totally have the space here to make another component, you know, with another small bead. So I am not discarding my 29 karat plated wires from these ball head pins. They're going to go back in my bag. So what I've done here, we'll go ahead and finish the gemstone necklace. So I know that this is a little bit longer than my camera, but I'm just going to show you that because I want my dangling section to hang asymmetrically, that I added my chain into this smaller size, this shorter side I meant to say, and I'm going to come around and connect that chain to this end of my necklace. So I have a little gold-filled jump ring here for that purpose. Get a second pair of pliers and just add that, connect that chain right there. And that little section of chain is going to be where I add in my other elements. And I want to, this chain is very fine, so I am taking extra care to make sure that I have closed this jump ring really, really well. That seems really good to me. So now I have this little part is done really. I just have to add in my dangles. And you know, I'll have to pull out of the camera, but if you can see, my chain section here is not in the middle. It's going to be kind of asymmetrical. And so now I just have to really decide where I want to connect all of these dangles that I made. So I'm going to start at the top with one of these, and I'm going to start on the jump ring, because that way, since the chain is so petite, that way I have just another connection point in case I want to add more. I didn't want this to be too heavy or too busy, but you know, I want it to be full. I want it to look right. I mean, I want to find that sweet spot. So I'm going to put my this larger component in first. And I did 7 links. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to go right here on this one. Okay, I'm just going to keep adding all of these into my chain. Oh, that is so pretty, but I do think I want a couple more. I'm going to make a few more and just kind of fill out this little section a little bit more. I really like it, but I want it to be a little bit busier than that. I added in a few more little dangles and I tried it on, and it is gorgeous, and it's not super heavy, and it's landing just perfectly lengthwise. I look down and I can see all my little dangles. So now I'm going to move on to the coordinating piece that can be layered with this piece. And the first thing I'm going to do for this is put my clasp on the back. The reason that I'm going to put the clasp on first is because this chain will have to be cut. I will have to lose a link, and I want it to be asymmetrical as well. And I don't want the little dangle section on this chain to compete with this one. So I want to place it just so. So if that makes sense, I'll definitely at the end go to Gabriella Eva and try this on her so you can see how they will be worn together. And I have 2 gold filled jump rings here, so I am going to put the smaller jump ring with the gold-filled lobster claw on the end that, and make it right-handed because I am right-handed. So it's a little bit easier for me to open and close a lobster claw with my right hand. So I'm going to set myself up for success with that. And I don't think this will be long enough to pull over my head, so I think I will be using the clasp. And that is just beautiful. And now I'm going to put the larger gold-filled jump ring on the other end, and hopefully that's going to make it easy to take this on and off because this ring is nice and big. I think this is maybe a 10 millimeter. I bought an assortment of gold-filled jump rings, and I can try to link these below. I really love having them. I also make my own jump rings sometimes from the wire that I'm using in the piece, and you know that it's got the anti-tarnish coating, but I just wanted to do a little bit higher quality metals on this piece. And I am going to make a little space here on my work table and get an idea of where I want to add in this section that I've created. So I might even have to pause the camera to make sure before I cut my gold-filled chain that I'm cutting it in the right space, but I'm going to lay it out here hopefully so that I can share with you the method to my madness. So both of the clasps will be here at the back of my neck. So I just want to pull this across my mat and see where this is landing. So it looks like I can almost put it anywhere because my gold-filled chain is a little bit, this is going to lengthen it because I'm going to make a cut in the chain and add in 3 of these components with a gold-filled jump ring in between. And so that's going to give me a little bit of length. I marked it with my thumb, the length that I want to cut. So I'm going to lose this link right here. This chain was a little bit expensive, so I'm being exceptionally cautious about my cuts. And now this is a simple matter of opening and closing these connectors that I made, or these components that I made. I already closed them really well. So I'm going to add the first one in and take my time and close it really well and work hard in it. And now I'm going to do a jump ring, but I'm also going to feed on my little charms that I made, my dangling bits. So what I want to do is put my connector on, and then I want to add in 2 of these little charms, and then my next connector, and then 2 more of my little charms. So what that does is distributes my charms evenly, 2 on each side. And again, I may go back and add more to this one the way that I did the other one. Sometimes I even take some away, but I won't really know until I do the connecting and, you know, have a look and see how it's doing. Oh, that's really pretty. I think I'm going to like that. But can you see what it does to connect that way? That I have 2 dangles and then my main piece and then 2 more dangles on either side of it. And that makes a difference in how things hang. And then I'm going to repeat the same thing with the next jump ring. Just add it. And then I want to do 2. And these, I did this necklace, I did the dangling bits all random, just little random patterns. But on this necklace, I did all of these the same. I don't know why. I just thought it would look good when I was doing my pattern play. That's just how I saw it. Sometimes it's hard to explain what your method is. Oh, I don't want to lose I'm going to have to close. I see that this last little ring needs a little attention. The loop, I meant. So I'm going to close that really well. Let's see, one of those loops was not great. This one right here. Can you see? It's just a tiny bit, but I really want these to be closed well because everything is so fine on this piece. And then this piece can get opened right here and added to my chain on this side. And believe it or not, my second necklace is done. There's a little bit of labor in making all of these components, but not terrible. And if I hadn't had so many interruptions in filming today, it would have been a lot faster, but let's make sure that it's closed really well. And so I realize it's a little bit hard to see. I'm going to just pull out of the camera and make sure that I'm happy with my dangles and the way they're hanging. And if I want to add any, I will do that. And I will put some pictures at the end of the video on the mat so you can have a really close look at how these can be worn together or separately. But also, I will take these necklaces over to Gabriella Eva and, let her model them, and I'll take a little video. And I just had so much fun with this project, and I think this incorporates some of the trends for 2024, plus the quality of gemstones and gold-filled supplies. And for me, these are my favorite lifelong colors, so it's timeless for me. And I can just see myself wearing these even in the heat, because even with these dangling sections, it's not heavy. It's not like something that you really feel around your neck. So I'm super excited about this little set, and I just thank you so much for watching and for choosing my video today. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel and you like my content, it is a great way to support my work, so I would really appreciate that. And tap the bell notification so you don't miss any notifications. And one other thing, can't believe I'm saying this, but I am nearing 5,000 subscribers, and I can't even tell you how grateful I am for all of you who leave comments and thumbs up and share my channel. I can see in my analytics that people are sharing my channel and my videos with others, and that just has made this such an amazing journey. So I am planning a giveaway, and I was trying to think about what I could give away that would be special. And I was thinking about something that my mother said when I was growing up and she was teaching us, was that we should always give something that we ourselves would want, something that we would love. And I was thinking, what could that be that would be really special? And so I have been collecting buttons and antique buttons and check glass buttons since I was a little girl. And about 30 years ago, I was at an antiques auction and I won the bid on a huge box of mother of pearl buttons. And they had been collected by an elderly lady. So these mother of pearl buttons are all over 100 years old, because I've had them for 30 years and they were even older. They were even old when I won them. And there are just some spectacular things in here. There is a little mother of pearl buckle, and like these are just amazing. Some of them even still have the old threads in them. There are some square ones, just some really unique ones. And I just really am so grateful for all of you that I wanted to do this giveaway. So there are these vintage glass buttons. There were 6 of these, so I am giving away 3. So I was thinking, you know, you'd have one for a bracelet and then a pair of earrings. And then I put in some new things as well. Here's a couple of new check glass buttons and some new metal buttons, just because this is something I've collected and I love. And so this is going to be my giveaway for when I reach 5,000 subscribers. So under this video, if you will leave a follow, a thumbs up, and a comment, it can be anything, even just a little heart, so that I have your name for the random pick. And as soon as I reach 5,000 subscribers, I will draw a name at random, and this little treasure box of vintage and antique buttons will go to that person. And it's just by way of thanking everyone and encouraging everyone to keep watching, keep giving the likes and the comments. It really helps my work. So thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you're all safe and well and having fun on your beading mats, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao, jewelry making friends.